The first one is creating your system outline. Okay, this is something I did accidentally. I didn't just come up with this on my mind. I accidentally did this, and this has catapulted our entire company almost from day one. What happened is I'd been running my internet business for a while and had a lot of people ask me questions about how we were doing this, how we were making money, how we were creating products. And I said, I'm going to write a book about this. So I sat down and I wrote a table of contents for a book. I said, chapter 1 will be this, chapter 2 will be this, chapter 3 will be this. And I wrote a whole table of contents about what I would teach someone if I was writing a book. And each chapter title was something like how to blah 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 blah, how to blah 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 blah, and that was my book outline, my book table of contents. And I never wrote that book, but I had this table of contents. And one time I was at a seminar like this, and I decided to do a little 2-hour workshop with some people. And what I was going to do is teach about internet businesses and kind of my experience with them and the things that I learned. And I invited probably like 8 or 9 people to this workshop. So I figured it'd be really small and casual, and we'd sit down and kind of talk about it. And I don't know how people found out about it. When I got down to the room, there were about 50 people in the room sitting there. And I was like, oh no, I have nothing really prepared. I was going to kind of just talk with people. I'm like, what am I going to do? And so I told them, hold on real quick, I'm going to grab something from my hotel room. I'll be right back. I went to my hotel room, found my computer, opened it up, and I found my table of contents for the book I was going to write. I took the table of contents, I wrote them out on a yellow pad of paper, came back down, put it down in front of myself, and I said, okay, let's start teaching this thing. And I taught from my table of contents. Section 1, chapter 1, and I taught chapter 1. And then I went chapter 2, taught chapter 2, taught chapter 3, went through the whole thing. It turned out to be a 2-hour presentation. And some of you guys may have seen that presentation. It's actually the free DVD we gave away on all of our websites is that 2-hour presentation. And it walks through the entire business model. Now, again, so the first key is you create an outline. I'm going to talk about some of the important parts. The first thing is, a lot of times, in my situation, I base my modules for this thing just based on what I want to write in a book. But one thing that's very, very powerful that I recommend doing is not just basing your outline on your own thoughts. Like, I think this would be a good thing to put in my book, or put in my system. I would base it on customer feedback. So what we do is we set up simple campaigns, and we ask our customers, what are you interested in? What's your number one question about this, or number one question about that? And then we get responses back. And it can be as simple as going to a forum and posting a message saying, hey, I'm creating a product about dancing. What are your top questions about dancing? You get all this feedback back from people in the forum who are interested in dancing, and then you can take that and figure out what people are actually interested in, and then take that and turn it into a system outline. So you have a good outline of exactly what's going on. Now, when we launched our potato gun product, we did this exact same thing. I went to a bunch of potato gun forums. I put up a page that said, hey, I'm making a potato gun product. What's your guys' number one question about how to make potato guns? And I got all sorts of feedback back. And it was interesting because in my mind, I thought, here are the 3 or 4 things that people want to learn about potato guns. But what I got back was probably 8 to 10 really solid questions I'd never thought about. Things like, what's the right barrel to chamber volume width on your pipes to make sure you get the maximum velocity? I'm like, that's a great question. I have no idea. Next one was, what kind of propellant will shoot the furthest? That's another really good idea. And then, what kind of PVC pipe, what's the rating on the PVC pipe do you want? I'm like, these are great ideas. So I went out and researched, and I found all the information. And then now I knew exactly what my customers actually wanted. And I created our outline for that product based on the customer feedback. So that's the first thing, is getting customer feedback, because you'll find out a lot of stuff that you had no idea that people really want to know about, and you'll be able to give that to them in your products. Okay? The next thing is you want to make sure that your outline is very modular. So module 1 or chapter 1 or section 1, and break it down like that. And I'll talk about that in a second why, but you want to make sure that everything you're breaking down into modules. Modules or chapters. Okay? Next thing is you want to give each module a headline, just like I talked about. In my book, chapter 1 was how to blah, 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 blah. Chapter 2 was discovered the secrets of blah, 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 blah. So just like a headline you write for sales letter, sub-headline type thing, you want to write a little headline for each of these different modules so that you have a way in the future to be able to sell each of those modules as a typical product. But you want to be able to write a headline of what is the how-to, or what's the benefit of each of these headlines in your system, each of the sections in your system. And the last big thing is you want to make sure that each module could be a product in and of itself. If you were to go, take your entire system, and then let's say chapter 3 is how to do pay-per-click, you want to be able to pull that out and be able to have the ability to turn that into an actual product. Okay, now with the potato gun product, this was definitely a product that was like a Lamborghini on a dead-end road, okay? Because we can't pull out chapter 3 about aerosol and make a whole product out of that. It's not possible. So you want to make sure your products are something you would be able to do that your sections are big enough ideas that you could pull out a section of that and turn that into a whole product if you needed to. And that's going to be very important when we talk about ramping up and making more and more money, is each of your sections should be able to be a standalone product in and of itself if you needed to. Okay? So that's the first secret, is creating a system outline. Okay, and some of you guys are going to think, well, that's for my ebook, that's for my product, and it's more than that. I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. It's more than that. It's not just for your product, but it's for your entire company. Okay, our system outline has become the outline for my entire company to this day. From that one little thing I jotted down when I was writing my guesstimate of my book, that's turned to our entire business. Okay, all of our seminars, our workshops, our one-on-one coaching, our products is all still based on that original outline I wrote, 4 years ago. So, and I'll talk about that, how that works, but this is more than just a product. This is an entire company, an entire business you're building out of the system outline.